Thank you very much. Please be seated. Good evening, members. Good evening. And guests. Good evening. Can I firstly remind you, as ever, it's being filmed this evening, courtesy of Chirpington Enterprises over there. So you're on telly. I also extend a very warm welcome to our new interim Chief Executive. Right here, Manjeet Gill, I think I've got that right, and she will be steering me through tonight in her wisdom. I shall be using her wisdom. Would you like to say good evening?
Thank you. Good evening. Good evening, everybody, ladies and gentlemen, and I look forward to working with you all. And I certainly hope the Mayor would also be steering me through this evening as well. Thank you.
I'll be staying, yes. Now, even better is when you finish this council meeting tonight, our new CEO would like to invite you into the Mayor's Parlour for tea and cakes. Now, I have inspected the cakes, they look pretty good, but I am keen that we eat them before midnight, so we don't want to be too long. Right. That's the good bits done. Do we have any apologies?
Yes, apologies for absence. We have an unusually large list tonight, so it's Alistair Orty, Mark Ashwell, Keith Baker, Charlotte Aiken-Taylor, Kate Haynes, John Horsall, Julia McGee-Sumner, Philip Murphy, Barry Patman, Ian Pittock, Malcolm Richards, Bill Soane, Wayne Smith, Alison Swaddle, and Paul Swaddle.
It really is a good job we came, isn't it? Gosh, that's a lot. Okay, members, minutes of previous meetings, which is shown on in the agenda, pages 15 to 44. If I could agree those, please. Would you please show your acceptance? That's very well carried. Thank you very much. Declarations of interest. Members, are there any declarations of interest by any members apropos of this evening's agenda as in front of you? Please show. There being none. Thank you very much. We're now moving to public question time. Just a couple of comments really. We've got more questions than I've ever seen. That's why the members never come. So I hope questionnaires are happy to ask questions standing in their name. It will allow more members of the public to get their questions in. We have 11 questions, we'd like to get them all in. Supplementaries are allowed, but they must reflect the answer to the original question, and please, no speeches. Now, in order to extend the questions from 30 minutes to 45 minutes to allow those questions to all be asked, I'm going to propose a motion under Rule 4.2.12N to suspend Rule 4.2.9.1. I know you're all familiar with those. To allow public question time to extend to 45 minutes. Do I have a second, please?
Sorry for that.
Are you seconding?
No, I'd like to ask a question, please. Are we doing the police first or combined with that? Apologies if I missed something.
Right, and please follow afterwards. We want to do the public questions first. As is normal practice, Councillor Lee. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. John Kaiser was seconded. Those in favour, please show. Thank you very much. Thank you. That's carried. Following David Lee's point, I think it's absolutely right. Before we do, that we do welcome, we have a special guest here tonight, is the Chief Constable Francis Hadford and the Deputy Police Commissioner for Thames Valley Police, Matthew Barr. So welcome, gentlemen. As soon as the questions, we'll be moving on to you. So thank you very much, and you're very welcome. Okay, so can we start now with the questions? And question number 36.1 on the agenda is from Mr. Steve Bowers, who I know very well. Steve.
Good evening, I'm speaking in Steve's name. The council is currently in breach of the statutory...
Hold on a minute. Okay, you're done there. Okay, thank you.
The council is currently in breach of its statutory duties with actions taken under the 21st Century Project. How do you propose to remedy this urgent situation? The rest of the question is standing in our name.
Thank you very much. Who's going to take this one, please?
Mr. Mayor,
Richard, we're going to ask that question.
okay, I'm actually standing in for the executive member for Atlas Services this evening, so Steve, I'll answer your question. Woking Borough Council is fully aware of and committed to our duties under the Homes and Communities Agency for regulatory standards. And we also value highly our relationship with TLIP. Improvements in housing services are directly linked with the partnership with the evolved tenant structures over the last few years. The Council acknowledges that you should have been consulted on Phase 1 as per the tenant involvement and empowerment standard, and apologise for this oversight. This oversight is, I suspect, attributed to the fact that the HRA was substantially located in Phase 2 of the programme. As such, no firm decisions have been made in respect of the HRA. I confirm that you will be engaged in Phase 2. I can confirm there is not an embargo on the recruitment of permanent staff during the implementation of the 21st Century Programme. Managers have been asked to undertake careful management when filling vacancies to ensure that they minimise risk of future redundancy. But where a post is vital to the continued delivery of the service, then it should be filled. There are, however, certain posts that are difficult to fill, such as surveyors. But this is an issue about the competitive market for those positions rather than anything to do with the 21st Century Programme. The operational housing service team are almost fully staffed for the first time in a long time, with a range of permanent and temporary staff that attempts continue to be made to fill this post with permanent staff where appropriate. With regards to the housing needs, tenant involvement and housing management teams are all virtually fully staffed, again with a mixture of temporary and permanent staff, based on judgment of the managers of the service. Simon tells me that the staff levels and capacity of the team have improved over the last month, and we are continuing monitoring this issue, not just in housing, but across the council. I hope this gives you some reassurance and that there is a strong commitment in continuing to provide high level of service to tenants. Finally, I can confirm that the 22nd of August, the staff split within the housing service is as follows: 30 permanent, 10 fixed term contracts, 7 agency and 8 secondees, of which 5 are internal, 3 external to the housing service. The rent team, which sits in another department, has 2 permanent and 2 agency staff.
Thank you very much, Richard. Do we have a supplementary?
Yes, we do. The Leader of Council acknowledged the breach of duty in her letter to me of the 24th of August. This needs to be rectified within the week to avoid involving the housing ombudsman. Will that happen?
Yes, that will happen.
Thank you. Very brief answer. Thank you very much. Next question is Jan Chavis. We have Jan in the house.
Yes.
Thank you.
When the 21st Century Council project was first announced, one of the key elements was to improve local coverage and reduce the cost associated with multiple personnel having to carry out visits to localities, thus helping to improve community involvement and development. Is this still one of your priorities, as the opposite appears to be happening? The rest of this question is standing in our name.
Are you taking this one, Councillor Belinsky?
I'll take this
Oh,
one.
it's Mr. Whittle.
Indeed.
Okay, would you like to take the answer?
Thank you for your question, and I can confirm that it is still a priority of the 21st Century Council programme to deliver locality working. The programme has been split into two phases, with the initial stage, which is now completed, focusing on our back office systems and services. We have been making changes to how we serve each other within the council, first of all, so that we could learn from this before we look at those services which directly serve our residents. This two-stage approach will explain why you feel you have not yet seen any direct improvements. The programme will be seeking to make service delivery more customer-focused and much easier for our residents to access our services. With regard to staffing, there have been a number of moves in and out of the services you mentioned, and over the last few months, some surgeries have unfortunately been cancelled, as there is currently only one housing officer in post. It is hoped surgeries will return to normal once we have recruited into the vacant post. For the first time in a while, the asset management team is now almost fully staffed, albeit with a range of permanent and temporary staff. Attempts continue to strike the appropriate balance and ensure that critical roles such as the procurement and contracts manager role are occupied by permanent staff. It's recognised that there has been turnover in housing and that there has been some recruitment and retention issues. We are therefore having to employ agency staff to supplement our permanently employed staff. But I can assure you, however, that the team is currently very close to full complement. A rent review project is already underway, overseen by our most senior housing officer, looking at all key processes with a view to adding capacity and stability and improving the service offer for the benefit of all concerned. The rent review project has reinforced that additional staff are required in the rent team in order to provide the necessary focus on high-level debt, continual non-payers, formal tenant arrears, etc. This will pick up the wording of all letters that you refer to. The outcome of the review will be reported to Tenant and Landlord Improvement Panel in September and will be available on request.
Thank you very much. Do we have a supplementary?
Yes.
No?
As the HRA already funds the community houses and the rent team are currently under review, why don't the council consider incorporating the rent and community development teams into the housing department, thus creating a fully holistic team for the communities and tenants while saving costs for the general fund?
Councillor.
I think it's fair to say that as part of the 21st Century Council project, we will be looking at the way that all of these areas operate and looking to ensure that they work to the optimum.
Thank you very much. Next question is Brian Lee. If you are here, would you like to ask your question? Yes, you are. Thank you.
The Council's 21st Century project is having a major impact on the functions carried out by the asset management team within the housing services. How much longer are we as tenants expected to tolerate the growing staff shortages and Council's failure to appreciate the problem that both the team and the tenants are having to tolerate? Prior to the start of the 21st Century project, this team was a busy, proactive group who had improved the council's property assets, bringing 99% up to the decent home standard, but are now in a very real danger of collapse.
Thank you very much. I guess this is Councillor Delancey again. Have to take the front.
Sorry, the rest of the questions are standing in our name.
Okay, thank you very much. I think you have the full question with you. And I hope you answer.
Yes, thank you. I do, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Brian. Without being accused of repeating myself, the answer I will give will be the same as I gave to earlier, sorry. I was trying to think of the name actually, straight in my head. Steve's question. Because your question is very similar actually. So again, I can confirm that there's not an embargo on recruitment of permanent staff. Managers have been asked to undertake a careful management when filling vacancies to ensure that they minimise the risk of future redundancies. But where a post is vital, and I've already said this, where a post is vital to continue delivery of service that should be filled, and that's important. There are, however, certain posts, as I said, like surveyors, where we're at the mercy of the market on that. Operational housing teams are almost fully staffed, as I said. Yes, we've got some, majority are permanent, but we've got some temporary staff. That's not to say our temporary staff are not excellent. We've got some very good temporary staff there, and they might even migrate into becoming permanent staff. We don't know. That's all part of the 21st century programme. With regards to the housing needs, tenant involvement, housing management teams, as I said, are virtually fully staffed, and that's a welcome picture there. And as I said earlier on, I can confirm, as from the 22nd of August, 30 permanent staff, 10 fixed term contracts, 7 agency and 8 secondees in there. The capacity of the team has improved. So maybe when you filed that question, it was in your mind, it probably wasn't, but it has improved over the last month. And we'll continue monitoring this issue, not just in housing, but across the whole council.
Thank you very much. Do you have a supplementary, sir? Brian?
No.
No supplement?
No.
Okay, thank you very much. Mrs. Weiss, I think, is it not?
Yes. The 21st Century Project is supposed to reduce staff costs while improving interaction between the council and residents, primarily through the use of enhanced IT. How will this work when there has been no input from customers and the council's website has been downgraded in a national survey by Better Connected from 3-star to 2-star, while other councils are improving? The rest of the question standing in my name.
Thank you very much. Taking this one, Oliver? Thank you very much.
Thank you for your question, which covers a number of issues, which I will group for ease. The existing web page and service provided through our customer service teams is the first topic. The council regularly works with our residents to find out what they want from our website and to build the site based on this feedback, as we believe it is more important for us to find out what residents want as opposed to a rating exercise based on categories. In fact, the council scored better in this year's Better Connected survey than last year, showing a good direction of travel. However, we agree with the SOCITM's assessment of our online mapping service and have already begun improving this area as part of the 21st Century Council programme. And this will be online shortly. The council's customer service team is able to resolve and manage a high proportion of calls that are received. However, we recognise that this can be improved for residents by increasing the scope of the customer service remit, and we are actively addressing this via the 21st Century programme. Which brings me on to the 21st Century programme. This programme has been split into 2 phases, with the initial and now completed stage focusing on our back office systems and services. We have been making changes to how we serve each other within the council first, so that we could learn from this before we look at those parts of the council that directly serve our residents. This will explain why you have not This will explain why you feel you have not yet seen any direct improvements. The programme is seeking to make service delivery more customer focused and much easier for our residents to access. In particular, we will be looking at and prioritising the high volume processes that are regularly undertaken by our residents. However, whilst we will be looking to make these available online to meet customer demand, I can assure you that there are no plans to remove the option for residents to opt for assisted delivery via customer services when transacting with the council should they need to. And finally, the housing service. This programme, as I've said before, has not yet considered how the services provided by our housing teams can be enhanced through the programme. As in any change, however, I am aware that there has been speculation as to what might happen to the configuration of the service. But I can assure you that the programme does not set out to reduce or diminish existing services. Rather, it is seeking efficiencies in the way the council is organised to enable a much more joined-up customer responsive service for all our residents. As an important stakeholder group, our involved tenants will be part of the design process.
Thank you very much. Do we have a supplement?
Yes, we do.
Would you like to ask it, please?
Thank you. With the HRA being a standalone ring-fenced budget, ergo non-transferable to the general fund, we, the involved tenants, on behalf of the 3,000 plus council tenants across the borough, ask the council to consider the views expressed by the 4 involved tenant chairs at present and instruct the senior council officers to listen to our opinion. Please don't become another Kensington and Chelsea council. Listen to your tenants. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I think it's fair to say that we do listen to the tenants, we pay attention to what they have to say, we have regular meetings with them and will continue to do so.
Thank you very much. Okay. We now move to Mr. Keith Malvern. Keith, are you here?
I am.
Good evening to you.
I have, thankfully, a short question.
Thank you.
Why have you had to find an extra 400k this financial year to cover local plan activities when the schedule of work was already known?
Okay, you leave, I think. Yes?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Keith. You are quite right. We've had to find this additional money because we've had a substantial number of sites which have been submitted by residents of this borough. The number greatly exceeded that which we had expectations when setting the original budget for the local plan. And the supplementary funding is required to assess the opportunities for sustainable development across all of the promoted sites. In particular, it will allow master planning of larger and more complex sites to ensure we are fully aware of the opportunities and constraints to sustainable development, including in-depth consideration of infrastructure, delivery plans, which is the key message coming from residents. Future consultation on the local plan update will be supported by the detailed assessment of all sites, some of which will be recommended for allocation for specific use